Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to the Restoration Couple. Got a bit of a treat for you today. It's a new project. We are not at our house, we're on location, and stick around and I'll give you a little preview of what's to come. So some of you will recognise this place from last year, I think it was, when Joe's sister moved into this old Georgian house in Cheltenham, and it's a beautiful place, but there's a few challenges with it that we need to sort out, and one of the things that we're tackling this week and next week is to create some new space for the house using the existing cellar. So just like Joe, Naomi is big into the crafts and sewing and all that sort of stuff, so she's keen, rather than have it all over the dining table, keen to have a dedicated space for that. So that is the challenge which I have accepted, and I'll give you a look at the space we've got to work with. Currently this cellar is accessed by this door, which is some sort of hardboard door, and it's a very narrow opening, and immediately what you can see, this wall here on the right is a bit of a talking point, so we'll come to that once I can find the lights. There we go. So like I said, that wall there just looks like a normal understairs wall, but when you get round to this side into the stairwell, you can see that it's actually got the original spindles. And I say original, I imagine they are. It doesn't look like they've been messed around with at all. They're also very thin, much thinner than a modern spindle would be. So it's very possible that these are original. And you can see up here on the first floor landing, or half landing actually, that they continue up. And there's been some polycarbonate put there, and obviously some hardboard or something here, which is separating this space off from the house, and that is one of the reasons why there's a few issues. So as you come down, you've got this kind of narrow brick staircase which comes down, which is quite nice, and it will tidy up, I'm sure. And you're down into the cellar area. So immediately you can see here there's some issues with moisture. I don't like to use the damp word, but essentially that's what we've got here. And the main reason for that is the external height of the soil is quite high. Well, it's higher than the existing internal floor level. So that garden next door goes up the wall, and that's one of the reasons here. Looks like someone's had a crack at some sort of chemical damp proofing. That's what those holes are there. So there's a few issues like that that we're going to have to work with and work around. And then as you come round, there's a 90-degree corner into the space. Now if we just take a quick look at this stonework or brickwork that's here, and initially when you look at this it looks like a lime-washed old wall, but there's something about it, the contours and the texture, that you can tell there's something a bit more than just lime wash or paint onto stone. So a little bit of chipping and investigation led me to find that all of this has a bitumen tanking of some sort on it. So Naomi's been a bit concerned because it's always going to be relatively damp down here in comparison to the house because it's an old cellar. But you know, if you were storing it like cardboard boxes or something down here, then of course they're going to go soft. And a lot of those issues have shown themselves skirting board level on the ground floor. And what tends to happen is when you tank a wall, especially in a cellar, the moisture can't get in like it would normally. What would happen normally is it would come through the brick or stonework, come to the inside surface, and because you've got a well ventilated space, hopefully in a cellar, it will evaporate off the surface. So actually, you know, you don't end up with damp in the walls as such. As soon as you put a tanking system like this on, then what tends to happen is you force the water content in those stones has got to go somewhere, and it tends to get wick up the walls and can show itself in the ground floor. So that's one of the issues that is showing itself upstairs, but it's a pretty hefty, thick slab of bitumen. I've never worked with this stuff before, but that's what I assume it is. Solid black, It's not rubbery as such, it's gone very brittle. So many of you will know me, and I don't like to do things half-heartedly, and this is one of those things where every part of me just wants to tear it all back. Let's get back to the old stonework and brickwork, clean it all up, make it all breathable again, and then either leave it bare or treat it with a breathable paint. But I haven't got that option. We're on a time constraint, we're on a budget constraint, and you know, we haven't got that luxury. So we're going to have to work with what we've got. We're going to accept that the fact that the walls are dry on the internal surface, so you know, that's a plus point. The place isn't suffering too much with condensation either. What I would suggest is that we open up the vents a bit more, get a bit more ventilation or air bricks through to outside, potentially open up that stairwell space and incorporate this as part of the house, or at least just make sure there's some airflow. And we've got a radiator down here too, which I'll give you a look at. Okay, so kind of thinking I should have brought a wider lens because it's pretty tight down here. You've got a radiator on the side there, which is handy. That's going to keep the chill off it, especially when she wants to work down here, and she can just change the TRV there, just turn it up a bit so it'll kick in. And then there's all the utilities for the house. You've got all the mains water coming in, and then the boiler, the combi, is up here. So a lot of the distribution for the heating goes off. So we're going to have to work around those, just do a little bit of boxing in there. Electrics, I mean, this house has seen its fair share of DIY, I think, and there's a few issues. I think someone's kind of come off here going into the new kitchen extension, which isn't that clever. So, I mean, I need to put another double socket down here, so we'll have to have a look at that. And then over in this corner, all the consume units and all that gear is here. There's also an electric car charging port on the driveway, which is this one here, I believe. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of bulky gear there that we need to box in. But this is the main wall we've got to work with, and we're going to create some bespoke storage and desks there. And then lastly, the floor is pretty sound as far as structurally it's pretty sound. It looks like that tanking has been done on the floor. There's that black there. So I have got Naomi to lie down some plastic on here to see if there's any moisture coming up through, and it doesn't seem to be, so that's something in our favour. And then last of all, we've got this. We've got natural light down here, which is nice, but it's also clearly a bit of a weak point as far as the moisture goes. So the brickwork, this sort of light well or coal chute or whatever it is becoming a bit of a garden feature. So we need to tidy this up, which is not going to be fun, bearing in mind I can't really get up through these solid iron bars. And that goes up into this sort of lantern at garden level. So I'm going to approach this a little bit different, this space. I think that we're always going to struggle to keep this pristine as part of the room. So I think we should clear it all out, clean away what we can, and then accept that this is always going to be a little bit more external. You know, it's going to always have a little bit of issues with stuff growing or coming through. We've got natural light there, we've got air bricks and potential for moisture to get in. So what I'm suggesting is that we actually fit a window on this internal square opening, and then on the outside of that, although we'll make sure the window is well vented and we'll always leave it ajar to keep the airflow. This space here could be quite cool. We could put some shelving on here, maybe a little light here, and you've got the natural light, and you can actually stick some plants there. So it'll make a bit of a feature of it. When you come down, you'll have this glaze opening, and beyond that glaze you'll have a nice sort of, is it a terrarium? A terrarium? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, we might get onto that next week. Then last of all, let's have a quick look at some issues with the handyman who tackled this the last time round. So I think what we're dealing with here is a lime lath and plaster ceiling, which is why it's got a bit of undulation in it. But then it's been skimmed over at least twice, I would say, and not particularly well. So you can see up here, you've kind of got the scrim tape showing, and it's all a bit uneven, but we're just going to go with it. It's quirky. These are the kind of brick corbels, I think, or at least supports for the fireplace above. That's what those are. There's a few issues, such as here. I mean, I don't know quite how they've managed to do that, but they've plastered over the bayonet type fitting here, which is not particularly clever. That's it. What do you think? It's a small space. We're about 2 meters 20 by 2 meters 80. So it's pretty quaint. It's pretty small, but I think if we design the cabinets well and we clean it up a bit, we'll be on to a winner. So the floor and the walls are going to be today's project. Clean down first, then I've brought that HVLP sprayer. We'll spray on the walls. I've just bought a vinyl mat rather than the masonry paint that's on here. Hopefully it'll take. So that'll clean us up. We want to make sure we've got nothing loose on the walls. Then we're going to look at the electrics. Hopefully today I can just add an extra double socket on there and have a think about how I'm going to do the lighting. I'll probably end up sticking with what's here, just replace this for something else, but also just put some LED tape lights or something under the cabinets. And the other thing is the flooring. I want to tackle that today. So we're going to go carpet in here because that's going to just feel a little bit more comfortable, but I'm not particularly tall and we're struggling with space height wise, so we can't afford to just put 25mm of Celotex down and insulate the floor, so we're going to have to just cope with a nice thick underlay and a decent carpet to just make it a bit more thermally comfortable underneath the feet and under your feet. So floor wise, I'm going to put down a plastic damp-proof membrane. Of course, long term, if you were going to do this in a really thorough way, you'd probably just dig down and rip out the old floor, put down a new damp-proof membrane, put down 100mm of insulation and pour a new screed. That's not going to happen today. So what we're going to do is just put down a plastic damp-proof membrane, then I'm going to lay the underlay on top of that, and then the carpet to the grippers on the edge, and hopefully that'll be okay. Might rustle a little bit underfoot, but rather that than cold feet. So that's it, that's the intro video done. I'm going to try and keep this manageable and just regular uploads. So the next video will be getting it back to the blank canvas. We want to clear out the whole room, make sure that all the walls are kind of wiped down, rubbed down, nothing loose, and then we'll give it a good painting. It's going to be a relatively simple project, but I think it should help people out if they've got a spare sort of room in the house that they want to just revamp and repurpose, or if you want to convert like a little shed or outbuilding into a usable space, then some of the storage ideas and things like that might be helpful. So if you haven't subscribed already, you can do so. Click down below, click the bell symbol, and you get a notification every time we post a new video. Give us a thumbs up if you're looking forward to the series, and remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.